Am I the a-hole for selling my ex-husband's entire video game collection that he has collected for his entire life? Me, 31F, and my ex-husband, 39M, are currently divorced, and I have moved on and am currently remarried to my current husband. While me and my ex-husband were still together 3 years ago, I explained to him that I wanted an open relationship. He had been neglectful in our relationship and wasn't trying. He would hardly kiss me. No dates. No cuddles. No watching TV together. He spent every waking moment playing video games. I could not get him to stop playing video games. I was a gamer too, so I understood, but he played almost 8 hours a day while working a full-time job. I also could not get him to get rid of any video games he had for most of his life, since he was a teenager. He wouldn't even get rid of our 50-pound tube TV. We lived in a small apartment, and we didn't have the room. We had made a deal that if he used it once in the next year, we could keep it. He turned it on immediately after I said that and never turned it on again. So, getting back to the open relationship part, I told him that we had to go to couples counseling. His choices were an open relationship with couples counseling, basically separating, he tries in our relationship, or we get a divorce. He chose the open relationship over the other options. He would not get off video games. He would not even watch a movie with me, and he said going on a walk with me was boring, and that I never wanted to do anything that he wanted to do. All he wanted to do was play video games, and all he wanted to pitch was the idea of playing video games. Note, this was only after we got married. Before marriage, he was full of activities. His idea of hanging out was playing video games together, and I made a full effort to start a Twitch channel to make hanging out and playing video games more interesting because I was growing sick of video games. He would not do the same for me, though, and do things that I liked. I could only get him to do walks, not even go out. I was a stay-at-home wife and did not want to spend all my free time in the afternoon playing video games with him because I was alone all day, and I wanted to spend time with him. I did have my hobbies, but I just wanted to be around him. I cared about him. Asking me to play video games is just one idea. He would suggest different games as if it's a completely different idea of something we could do. He turned down all of my ideas. He also would tell our friends that he would not do something as simple as go on a walk with me because I only wanted to go walking around our neighborhood and nowhere else. I had begged him to leave the house. I had begged him for ideas. The reason why I was a stay-at-home wife is because I wanted to take a year off of work. He was fine with this because he said me cleaning the house would give him time to do the things he wanted. I didn't think that meant he only wanted to play video games and wanted more time to play video games. Fast forward to us starting our open relationship. I had a little bit of success early on. He tried out dating apps and tried to find ways to date other women. He told me his motivation was that he was extremely hurt that I slept with other people, and he was jealous, and he felt like if he slept with someone too, it would make the pain go away. I found this out a year later in a letter he sent me. I explained to him that all we had to do to close the open relationship was for him to try in our marriage. After a month of having an open relationship, he finally has a date. He works third shift and explains to me he has a breakfast date before he goes to sleep the next day. He told me her name and told me he met her on Tinder. One of our few rules was that we had to tell people that we were married. I asked him if he could prove to me that he told this person he was married. I could prove this for anyone I slept with already. He could not prove it, and he told me I needed to trust him. I then asked to see his Tinder profile. He refused to let me see his Tinder profile. So I told him that he had until 4 a.m. to show me proof, even a screenshot cropped down of him saying that he was married, or I wanted a divorce. This was his rule because he was afraid he was going to lose me to someone else. He kept insisting that I needed to trust him, and by morning I received no answer. He left to go on his breakfast date mad at 8 a.m. He told me it was local and at a coffee shop. He usually goes to sleep at 11 a.m. At 11 a.m., I called him and got no answer. I texted him and got no answer. I called him and got no answer. I texted him and got no answer. At 1 p.m., I called and texted again with no answer. At 3 p.m., I received a call from a police station in another city. It was him. He called to tell me that he was arrested, and he was not going to tell me why, and that I would find out soon enough. He said he was going to find a way to bail himself out, and when he got home, he would explain himself. Well, he did not come home for 5 days. He would not tell me what was wrong, no matter how much I begged. I was going insane. After the next day, I started searching for other jails he could be in because they did not hold him long, and he had not reached out to me. After hours of refreshing 10 different jail websites, it popped up. Cue the mental breakdown. He was arrested for enticing a minor to do something you shouldn't be enticing a minor to do. Except this was no minor. It was an FBI agent behind a computer screen pretending to be a 14-year-old girl. He met up with her and got arrested. Think of that show with Chris Hansen. Since I was a stay-at-home wife, I used the little bit left of our savings to bail him out so he could go back to work. I had no income at the time, and I gave him all of my savings back when we got married, which equated to more than $25,000. He had blown a ton of it. When I went to bail him out, I realized we only had a fraction of our savings left. We started out with significantly more than that. I only wanted to take a year off work, so most of my contributions should not have been gone. We lived below our means. So, after not having access to our finances for a year or so, I found out we didn't have hardly any money. I was in a vulnerable spot. Hardly any money. Nothing in my name. No job. Just a lease and no way to pay anything for more than a month. I bailed him out so he could work, and they told us that there was a chance he would be rearrested by the FBI because the charges he had were state charges, and he could be rearrested and face federal charges. So I waited until our lease ran out, and I moved out a month early, and he had not made arrangements yet to deal with his stuff. We were under the impression that he was not going to be rearrested under federal charges because it had been 6 months. Right before our lease was up, they showed up at his door while I was at work, and they arrested him after I had already moved out and divorced him. I did not bail him out again. I had a job and was moving into my own apartment, and I did not need the help anymore. The problem at hand was now that he did not pack up any of his stuff, nor did he find a new place to live when our lease was going to be up. My name was on the lease, and they would have charged me so much money to have his things removed and to clean the apartment. We had already given our notice that we were going to move out. All he left me was a spreadsheet on his computer of usernames and passwords for our bills. Also, his debit card was left on his desk with his wallet. He called me to tell me I could use what I needed to pay off the rest of his bail that he owed and to pay off whatever bills I had from him. It was not enough. My younger sister co-signed his bail, so I had to pay it off, or she would be stuck with a bill. I had to pack all of his stuff in a matter of weeks. I gave all of his stuff to his cousins and his parents to store. I gave his car to his cousin. And then I found an Excel sheet on his computer before I gave his computer to his cousin as well. The additional Excel sheet was a price list intended for me of all of his video games and what they were worth. When I spoke to him on the phone, he wanted me to sell whatever video games I needed to sell to make money to pay off his bail and send to him in prison. I sold a few to my older sister to help pay off his bail, and I sent him the extra from what I sold so he could call his mother from prison. This was only 2 or 3 video games that I sold. He had a ton left. He told me I could send the rest with his cousin, and his cousin would store them at his mother's house until he got out of prison. He tried telling me how much I owed him out of any money I received. He acted like any money I made off of his video games was meant to pay back anything I had to pay of his bills, and that I would just give him the rest. I told him I was keeping the rest of the little bit of money I had and that I don't owe him anything. I told him that I'll send his video games along with his cousins, and I want to be done with it. I found out he got sentenced to 10 years in prison. Here we are 2 years later, and as it turns out, I kept his video games. These are all very old PlayStation 2 and Xbox games, and some of them are worth hundreds of dollars each. Games like Steel Battalion on Xbox and Persona 2 on PS1. I asked my new husband if he would sell these video games for me one by one on eBay, and maybe we could use the money to decorate our new home. He hadn't really sold video games before, so I offered up one of my video games to see how it would go. The first video game I offered for him to sell sold for $77. We plan on selling all of them. Am I the a-hole for lying to my ex-husband and telling him that I would give his family his video game collection, but instead sell them because of the trauma he put me through and the savings he spent of mine? Update to add info: if I asked him if I could sell his games, he would probably tell me yes. He believed he ruined my life, and has a lot of guilt for how things went. He knows the effect it had on me. He had a $90,000 bail the first time. Using a bondsman, I had to pay $10,000. I don't know how it works. I put $5,000 down. I split our money in savings and took the $5,000 out of his half. He went back to work and had the other $5,000 on a payment plan. He got rearrested when he owed around $300 left. He paid extra payments as well. I did not bail him out when they came down with federal charges and they rearrested him. Update 1. I got a phone call today from my ex-husband from a new prison. I always answer the phone when someone calls twice, and he, in fact, called twice. Since some of the comments from this post were weighing on my conscience, I figured it was a wonderful opportunity to ask him if I could sell his video games. He said yes. He was a little bit hesitant at first but was more than happy to let me sell them if it helped me out financially. His only concern was that he wanted games to play when he got out that did not require an internet connection. I reminded him that I only have his old school collection, and he would still have all of his PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and Xbox One games when he got out. I made sure to ask to avoid legal trouble. He had originally called me to tell me he had settled into a new prison, and this was the final one he was going to be in. He knows I'm a very empathetic, caring, and nosy person, and he wanted me to just know that he was alive and that he would not be calling me any further. The last time he called me, I did point out that he had some nerve to continually try and reach out to me after our last conversation, where I told him not to reach out to me again. I did give him some unfortunate news about some family members going no contact with him, and the last time he called me, it was to let me know that his grandmother died, and he thought I should know since I used to be very close to his family. He said that his video game collection was worth at least $1,000. I let him know that it was way more than that, as I have already made over $700 selling very few things. I let him know what I already sold, including the entire Hack series, Steel Battalion, and I'm currently working on selling Persona 2. I traded in one game at a local game store in exchange for a PlayStation 4 and some games. Right now, we have a few titles listed on eBay for $500 each. No, I'm not giving anyone any details to those eBay listings, as I do not want to link people here back to my eBay listings. Final update: I got a phone call today from my ex-husband from a new prison. I always answer the phone when someone calls twice, and he, in fact, called twice. Since some of the comments from this post were weighing on my conscience, I figured it was a wonderful opportunity to ask him if I could sell his video games. He said yes. He was a little bit hesitant at first but was more than happy to let me sell them if it helped me out financially. His only concern was that he wanted games to play when he got out that did not require an internet connection. I reminded him that I only have his old school collection, and he would still have all of his PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and Xbox One games when he got out. I made sure to ask to avoid legal trouble. He had originally called me to tell me he had settled into a new prison, and this was the final one he was going to be in. He knows I'm a very empathetic, caring, and nosy person, and he wanted me to just know that he was alive and that he would not be calling me any further. The last time he called me, I did point out that he had some nerve to continually try and reach out to me after our last conversation, where I told him not to reach out to me again. I did give him some unfortunate news about some family members going no contact with him, and the last time he called me, it was to let me know that his grandmother died, and he thought I should know since I used to be very close to his family. He said that his video game collection was worth at least $1,000. I let him know that it was way more than that, as I have already made over $700 selling very few things. I let him know what I already sold, including the entire Hack series, Steel Battalion, and I'm currently working on selling Persona 2. I traded in one game at a local game store in exchange for a PlayStation 4 and some games. Right now, we have a few titles listed on eBay for $500 each. No, I'm not giving anyone any details to those eBay listings, as I do not want to link people here back to my eBay listings.